Good evening. We have more chairs that are forthcoming, so just bear with us. But thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm Kimberly Moffitt. I want to welcome you to UMBC for those of you who are visiting. For those of you who this is home, I want to say glad to see you as always, and thank you for being here to support what is sure to be a very interesting evening. Tonight, Dr. Michael Eric Dyson is really serving as the keynote to open up a much larger event. We have been planning for the last year a conference that really is taking a look at what are the impacts or the potential impact of President Barack Obama's legacy as a president, and what has been the impact in general on American national politics. And so back in 2008, we did a conference called the Obama Effect. And if you notice, this is being referenced as the Obama Effect 2.0. And in 2008, at the University of Minnesota, myself, Dr. Catherine Squires from the University of Minnesota, and Dr. Heather Harris from Stevenson University co-organized a conference that was to look at what is the implications of his presence on American politics even before he entered office, even before we knew he would enter office. The conference was held 2 weeks before the election in 2008. So we decided here's an opportunity for the next 2 days to take a look at what has been the Obama effect now that we are almost 2 full terms into and at the end of his time in office. And so we'll take a look at a number of issues surrounding President Obama's educational policies. We'll also hear from a really interesting session over tomorrow afternoon from millennials who will share with us what they believed was successful or even not so successful about President Obama's time in office. We'll also hear and learn more about his foreign policy and even the perspective of conservative politicians and conservative pundits who will offer their perspective about him. We hope you will consider joining us. At least for tonight, what we hope you will do is to consider tweeting us. You should have a little piece of paper that is encouraging you to use the hashtag ObamaEffect2, which we are live tweeting tonight. Also, feel free to tweet to Dr. Dyson at Michael E. Dyson, as well as one of our major co-sponsors who is making this event happen tonight, which is our Drescher Center for the Humanities on campus. You can tweet them at UMBC Humanities. I want to just quickly, because I know I'm not the person of the hour, and I recognize that, and I'm okay with that. Because I want to hear from Dr. Dyson as well, but I do want to make sure that I acknowledge a number of folks who have made this event happen and actually were instrumental in getting you in this space today. So I can't but begin by starting to acknowledge Shantae Stocks. Can you please raise your hand? She's my grad assistant, but she is also a PhD student in our Language Literacy and Culture PhD program. And after this event, she finally gets to focus on what she's here for, which is writing that dissertation. And I will happily release her to do so. Also, of course, want to again thank my co-organizers, Dr. Heather Harris from Stevenson University and Catherine Squires from the University of Minnesota. And of course, the Drescher Center for the Humanities, our director, Dr. Jessica Berman. My 2 departments that I belong to, American Studies, as well as Language Literacy and Culture PhD program, I must acknowledge them for their support and help in making this happen well over a year ago, as well as the Dean's Office for the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, the Provost's Office, and of course the President's Office, and a host of other departments. great colleagues on this campus who made sure that this event would happen, and they range from Africana Studies, the Department of English, our Global Studies program, the Department of History, Department of Media and Communication Studies, Department of Political Science, Department of Psychology, our School of Public Policy, our Department of Sociology, Anthropology, and Health Administration and Policy. They are competing to be the longest title on campus. Student Life's Mosaic Center for Culture and Diversity, the Shriver Center, the Division of Professional Studies, and of course, a host of others. At this time, we will hear from Dr. Rabowski to just offer a few opening remarks for us, followed by Tony Hines, who is a graduate student in the Language Literacy and Culture PhD program, who has the honor of introducing Dr. Dyson. Thank you.
Would you give Professor Moffitt a hand for being the leader that she is? I was delighted to hear Professor Dyson say that he had just been using her book there at Georgetown. We like that a lot. Good evening, good afternoon, good afternoon. I am delighted to welcome you here today and to thank the organizers of this conference for giving us a chance to hear from one of America's one of the leading thought leaders in our country. He and I were just discussing the fact that we share Alabama roots, though he is a northerner. His mother's from Alabama. We appreciate that. Those are those roots teaching you right now. But more important, we share this love of our country, of our race, and of the truth, of wanting to understand what it means to be an American, an African American, a human being, quite frankly. And I'm delighted when Dr. Moffitt asked me about having him here. I said that I could think of no one who could be more provocative and informative than this man, as he speaks the truth, as he struggles with the issues. I read a piece this summer, and I had wanted to, and it begins this way: we, Black America, are a nation of nearly 40 million souls inside a nation of more than 320 million people. And I fear now that it is clearer than ever that you, white America, will always struggle to understand who we are. Like you, we don't all think the same, feel the same, love, learn, live, or even die the same. Provocative words that open, I hope, our minds to think about issues of race, of differences among us. We have people on this campus, from Professor Moffitt to Professor Musgrove, Professor Tyson King Meadows, and many others, who talk about issues involving politics and race. We are having a major program out of our Humanities Center, funded by the National Endowment for the Humanities, to talk about Baltimore stories. We are doing things, I was just telling him, with the Choice program, working with children, over 500 children who are first-time offenders, mainly little boys of color, mainly black boys, and supervising them 24 hours a day. Why do I bring that up and all the other things we do? This is a campus, as we celebrate our 50th anniversary, that understands that America is in the middle of an experiment, as it tries to figure out how we develop a culture that has people from all kinds of backgrounds, whether talking race or gender, LGBTQ, all kinds of differences. How do we understand more about each other? And how do we learn to speak the truth to each other without beginning to fight, but rather opening our minds and our hearts and understanding the other's point of view? So I am just delighted to have someone I've admired for so many years here with us today. And then before I close, I have to make an announcement that is very difficult. Just today, just a short period ago, our beloved Professor Bill Lloyd passed. Some of you know he had the heart attack on our campus, and students were wonderful from Emergency Health Services in supporting him and bringing him back. And he had a wonderful period in this past week when he had gotten out of the hospital and was doing much better. And unfortunately, the family has said, I could say it, that he had another heart attack in the last few hours. And so I'm going to ask for a moment of silence for Professor Bill Lloyd. Thank you very much. Thank you. And again, welcome to Michael Dyson. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Hrabowski. Thank you all of you for being here this evening as well. Dr. Michael Eric Dyson is a professor at Georgetown University. He is a New York Times op-ed contributor, an MSNBC political analyst, and a contributing editor for the New Republic. He became an ordained minister at the age of 19 and obtained his PhD in religion from Princeton University. He's the author of 17 best-selling books, including Come Hell or High Water, an assessment of the historical context surrounding Hurricane Katrina. His most recent book, The Black Presidency, evaluates Barack Obama's position and evolution on matters of race during his presidency. To quote Douglas Blackman, the author of Slavery by Another Name, "No one understands the American dilemma of race and Barack Obama's confounding yet wondrous grappling with it better than Michael Eric Dyson. We struggle with the race question in this country. We struggle with knowing what it is, how to deal with it, how to marginalize it, and how to tear it down. This is why Michael Eric Dyson is so important. He forces us to confront it, to bathe in it, to define it. Dr. Dyson has had many meetings with the president over the years. He has toured the country and lent his voice to institutions seeking his perspectives on how race, our original sin, still shapes us. If he wanted to, Dr. Dyson could have made his voice the only voice that mattered in his book. Instead, he included the voices of his esteemed contemporaries, Ta-Nehisi Coates, Ezra Klein, Michelle Alexander, and many more. I believe he did that because he knows he's not in this fight alone. He knows that his voice is not the only one seeking to hold our country accountable for eschewing the values, codes, and ethics we declared were so vital to the fabric of our nation. In The Black Presidency, Dyson speaks of learning from Jesse Jackson and John Lewis, two civil rights titans. It is clear today that Dyson stands as a titan in his own right. Today, I learned from him. We learned from him. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Michael Eric Dyson.
I want to thank Brother Hines for that very gracious introduction, and to the great president of this marvelous institution, Dr. Hrabowski, a legend and a great leader of American education, higher education, and in joining and infusing the obligations of higher education to meet the highest standards, while also a kind of evangelical piety and fury in the best sense of that word, reaching out beneath and beyond the beautiful community nestled in tree-lined streets, to see that Baltimore is a place that has to be ministered to. And I use that word very deliberately and strategically. So what an honor it is to be here with Pastor Hrabowski on his church, because as good looking and as sharp as he is and as brilliant as he is, he brings to mind the best of our traditions of nurturing leadership. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing in higher education. And what a wonderful opportunity it is to come here and to share with him here. And then to have this opportunity to come with Dr. Moffitt and Dr. Squire and Dr. Harris. I used their book in my class. They ain't had to tell nobody they were up here. So I could have just appealed to them to come help me out. But they did. It's a brilliant book. It's a wonderful collection growing out of the earlier conference that they had, and it is a very useful book. And so I'm sure my speech accepted that they will produce yet again a tremendous volume from this gathering that has real impact on people's lives. Now, I'm going to ask y'all, not ask, I'm going to ask y'all to forgive me, because I'm an old school kind of dude and I see women standing and men sitting. I'm just saying, I know it's first come, first serve. I don't want to impose my way, but if some men want to stand up who are sitting, to let the ladies who are standing up sit, thank you, gentlemen. What a wonderful, striking gentleman you are. All right, a few more gentlemen can volunteer. Thank you. Let the ladies sit down. You know, got the kids coming. Right. Thank you all for that. Dr. Rabowski, I don't want you doing it, Doc. I need you here, Doc. I can't. See, that's leadership, though. That's leadership. He was giving up. No, Doc, I need you right there. I need the bishop right there.
There's a seat right here.
There's some seats over here. We just old school Wednesday night prayer meeting kind of thing. You know. I don't know if Tyson King Meadows is here. My man. Got to shout my man out. I ain't see you sitting over here. He taught me everything I knew at Chapel Hill when I was a professor there. And so good to see one of the best and the brightest of the Tar Heels, where the second greatest basketball player of all time went to school. Kobe Bean Bryant. I'm sure y'all know that. Who were you going to say, sir?
Michael.
Oh, come. I thought y'all taught independent thought here, not groupthink, not deferring and capitulating to the norms that have been articulated. Be independent, sir. But what an honor it is to be here today, and I want to thank Dr. Moffitt again, and Dr. Harrison, Dr. Squires, and Dr. Rabowski for this opportunity. I want to reflect briefly on Barack Obama and his presidency as it comes to an end, and people either express glee or great grief. And at the very least, however, an appreciation for what it meant and what it has meant to have the first black man, the first African American, the first multiracial figure that we know of. You know, a lot of brothers come up to me and say, hey, that's about the sixth black president. I said, bruh, if nobody knew, it don't really count. Because if they don't know, and if we don't know what treatment you will be subject to as a result of that knowledge. So the knowledge has to be public, widely disseminated, and consumed by multiple constituencies in order to constitute an empirical weight on the verification of his blackness as a president, and also to measure as a calculus, as a metric, who and what he is. So I want to talk about toward a post-Obama era. If I could line out my hymn and speak my sermon into existence, so to speak, to talk about toward a post-Obama presidency begins with the remarkable fact that he was indeed the president. Now, that seems obvious to us now, here in 2016. But during a period when he was running the first time, in 2007, 2008, where he contested bitterly with the woman who is now the standard bearer for the Democratic Party, Hillary Rodham Clinton, in a bitterly fought contest for the Democratic nomination. It was not at all evident or obvious that Barack Hussein Obama would prevail. And so when we talk about post-Obama, we got to talk about Obama. We've got to acknowledge the fact that he was elected not once but twice. And the second election may have been even more remarkable than the first. Because in the first election, Obama was an unknown quantity. We know the mathematical genius of your president and other faculty here, but he was an unknown quantity. He was an X. And we couldn't derive a value for that X because we couldn't associate him with known ambitions aside from what he articulated to us. And so he was a fresh person, new on the scene, relatively speaking. Think about it. He came to his first flush of fame, really, in 2004, where I sat with many others in Boston when he gave that speech. There's not a white America nor a black America. There's the United States of America. How's that working for you now? But it was beautiful because the teleology, the goal, as the Greeks would have it, that attracts us, that magnetizes us, the ideals and the aspirations set a standard that are attractive in their own right because they pull us forward in a proleptic sense, in an anticipatory sense, toward a future by announcing it as if it already exists. So it wasn't mere delusion, it was the projection of the great Jeremiads in our culture. Jeremiad, just a big word derived from Jeremiah. Henry David Thoreau, Martin Luther King Jr., people who see within the parameters and context of their own culture the redemptive possibilities to be called upon in order to articulate an ideal that will transform the culture. And so Obama stood there in 2004. I sat there with hundreds of others, thousands, where he gave that keynote speech and then thrust into fame. Before that, we shared a church bench in Chicago, Illinois. And as members of that church, we derived inspiration not only from her pastor, but from the many ministers who came through articulating a black prophetic ideal. And that black prophetic ideal was the notion that America had to be judged according to its own standards. That the things they said that they said are true, that America said is important. Martin Luther King Jr., the night before he was murdered, said, "America, all we're asking is be true to what you said on paper." So that the document, the papyrus upon which those words are inscribed are a gesture toward a profound experiment in democracy that continues to this day. And so the fact that Obama was president, still is, but in this post-Obama era, thinking about the fact that he was elected, coming to fame relatively early, and then after that first blush of fame, 4 years later to be inducted, to be inaugurated as the President of the United States of America, 4 years after the world got to know you, after America got to know you, that was a quick dating process. That's real fast. Hey, I dig you, I love you, what's up, let's have kids, let's go together and have children as married couples growing old in America. Within 4 years, Obama meets America, loves America, boy meets girl, girl meets boy, nation meets nation, boy meets boy, girl meets girl. People of like mind meet. And so Obama introduces himself as a figure wiry, wily, definitely clever, deeply and profoundly analytical, suspiciously brilliant. In the context of American politics, need I say suspiciously even more now in light of what we have now? I ain't telling y'all who to vote for. That's your choice. I know black people like to play card games, but you ain't always got to be Trump tight. But what's interesting, I ain't telling you nothing, I'm just saying. One of my favorite groups is Parliament Funkadelic. Does anybody know the founder of Parliament Funkadelic?
Yeah.
Who was that? Who?
African Obama.
Who? What's his name? Clinton? Oh, Clinton. Okay, yeah. I'm just saying, I'm expressing my personal desire in terms of music. That's all I'm doing. And so, here was a man, wiry, wily, clever, suspiciously brilliant, analytical, capable of a beautiful, winsome spirit of powerful engagement with the forces that exist, and yet not capitulating to a deadening pessimism about the possibility of America. Obama reminded us of the fact that this is a great nation of nearly infinite possibility. Whether that was true or not is irrelevant right now. For a minute. It is the notion of this Jeremiad, holding America to account according to its ideals, but also the articulation of the broad, expansive possibilities of what America is, a vista, a horizon open up. If you study Hans Georg Gadamer in terms of, say, Germanic conceptions of hermeneutics, you'll understand what it means to interpret and the horizon of interpretation and meaning. But the reality is Obama tapped into the notion of America as an experiment in democracy, as a possibility, as a horizon of interpretation. He expressed that to America in a way that it found compelling. Why? Because he was part Martin Luther King Jr., part Abraham Lincoln, part George Washington, part Hank Williams. Got to study some country music, right? That blues aesthetic. When it went black, it was the blues. When it went white, it was country music. The same agrarian culture that feeds the ethos of personal sensibilities derived from the land. Woody Guthrie could be thrown in there, the great Bob Dylan, Nobel Prize winning Bob Dylan. Jay-Z is next. No, all my teachers couldn't reach me, and my mama couldn't beat me hard enough to match the pain of my pop not seeing me so. With that disdain in my membrane, and I'm a pimp game like the world my defense came. We'll save that for the Nobel Prize committee. And so all of these various tributaries, all of the rivers flowing into the vast ocean of his imagination, fed and fueled Obama's conception of America as a dream, as a possibility, as a horizon of interpretation, and yes, as a Jeremiad, simultaneously. So therefore, it would be contradictory to a certain degree, both articulating the means by which the instrument of a kind of critical engagement with the nasty and vicious limits that are imposed on America, but also the infinite possibility that looms from within. And so this young man made us believe. All the old heads in politics, people who didn't know his name, started learning his name. And I must confess, when I was one of the first people to endorse him, and they said, "Why are you with Barack Obama?" I said, "No, he got something in him, that's why. There's something about him. Black folks scared. I ain't voting for him, they might shoot him." That's real, right? And right now, we just waiting to January, what is it, 20th? Please, Lord. The people still on the precipice. White America needs to know that. Brown and red and other yellow people whose experiences are the capacity to be vulnerable. We don't have to be reminded by the fact that we are on the streets every day and seeing unarmed black people and brown people going to their deaths. Obama became the representative of those vulnerable people, and we became his proxy. Can't get him, get us. And so that willed vulnerability of blackness that Obama carries on his thin shoulders simultaneously, concomitantly perhaps even, converges with this other possibility that blackness is redemptive and reissues the possibility of the American dream constantly in its hopefulness. And so this young man that we were introduced to, I know young people saying, young, you keep growing old. 55, he been president twice and he 55, double nickel, that's young. Yes. Wait till y'all grow up, have your own kids, and we gonna laugh at y'all. And so, this young man, with the vigor of his vision, with the delirious delight of his dream, this young man shared with us a kind of Ralph Waldo Emerson self-rebegetting, a constantly reissuing possibility, tapped into the American dream that resonated with so many people. It was a positive, uplifting, hopeful gesture. And America responded. Put him in office, and then the honeymoon was kind of over. That's how it is when you're in any relationship. You're courting, it's beautiful. How are you? Fine, how are you? What do you like doing? Anything you like? What's the best thing you've seen you? Mirror, mirror, stop, honey, it's you. It's all about you. After the wedding, what you doing? Toothpaste back on the thing. Toothbrush left the toilet seat up. I might fall in, hun. The unavoidable irascibility of intimacy domestically begins to emerge. And creeping into that relationship are the revelations of one's own limited humanity. Obama had a tremendous relationship with the public because they saw him as unlike other Negroes, to put it bluntly. He wasn't like the rest. He didn't even come from the same place they came from. He was foreign, exotic blackness. There's something attractive about that. When white brothers and sisters meet a black man or woman from America, there tends to be the automatic presumption of, and perhaps the recognition of, a kind of intimate hostility from the rejected and neglected history of slavery in the United States of America that creates automatically, almost unavoidably, a construct where guilt or grief engulf the relationship, even if you don't want to, even if you got nothing else but Doris Day on your mind. It creeps into it. Lincoln's beard, that hirsute president, begins to impose its follicular fidelity on your conversation. But with Obama bereft of that, as our brothers and sisters from Africa and the Caribbean don't have the same kind of construct. And so we like those kind of black people. They're different. They ain't coming at us being a white America, with a kind of indictment, a pointing finger. They're freer. They even ask other black people, hey, how come you're not doing better? That is conducive to an ideology of ostensible neutrality that says that it's all equal now and everybody just has to pitch in and do your thing. Obama brought that kind of freshness and blackness, but he still has some swag. Every time he walks out Air Force One, 50 Cent seems to be playing in the background. I don't know what you heard about me, but a country can't get up out of me. And the little tapes black people send around, video clips, meeting the then Oklahoma City Thunder before Mr. Durant decamped for greener pastures in Golden State. Sorry, y'all. Obama meets the coach. Hey, how are you? Fine, how are you? Meets his assistant coach. Hey, how are you? Fine, how are you? Meets Kevin Durant. What's up, bruh? He walks down Air Force One with a little swag, a little bounce, go home to his wife, sure enough, brilliant, beautiful, blazingly amazing. Michelle Obama, undergraduate, Princeton, law school at Harvard, doing it the way y'all say y'all wanted it to be done, y'all be in America. I'm projecting here in a vernacular intensity. Doing it the way you say you wanted it to be done, wife trained, smart. Yeah, she doing gardens and stuff, but she got habeas corpus under lock. And some other Latin words we could throw in there. Like Hillary Clinton, who broke the mold because she said, I'm not going to stand by your man. No disrespect to Tammy Wynette, it's a great song. Right? She's got this independent assertion of female autonomy. Ain't just a connection to a man, an independent, self-satisfying, autonomous agent of one's desire. And so the black family never got a better advertisement than with Barack Obama, even though it's the most famous black family ever to live in public housing. Now don't you put that on your application. Where you want to live? 1600 Pennsylvania. You ain't getting that crib. It is not available to you. Another person will soon take up residence there. And so Obama represented both the power and the beauty, the potential of America. And yet after being elected, the difficulty began, the difficult road of knowing an essentially centrist Democrat who carried revolutionary hopes into office, but who did amazing things despite the lethal limits imposed upon him. We now know, after reading several books, that the Republicans had it out for him the very night he was being inaugurated. He's trying to get inaugurated and have a little dance to Beyonce. Not mad at you. Pre-lemonade. Sorry? No, I ain't sorry, no. So there will be interbursts like this, so get ready for them. If you laugh, I'll move on. If you don't, I'll punish you. So, as he was preparing to do the best he could, looking across the aisle, how nice he was, I want to work with Republicans in a post-partisan America. Because as a black man, he understood that the greatest value in America comes from its diversity. Others who unrelentingly appeal to a kind of narrow framework that says my party or bust, he didn't share that. He shared with his predecessor, Bill Clinton, an attempt, some would say viciously, to triangulate, but let's take it at its best interpretation now, to reach across the aisle, to work with others, avec les peuples. And so, the problem is, of course, is that Obama underestimated the degree to which the intensity of the demonization of his blackness would shadow him. I mean, we could dress it up. Well, there were problems that they disagreed with him ideologically. True. But there were other ideological problems with previous presidents. They never got the debt ceiling automatically, which usually is raised, not to be raised. Obama was subject to more death threats than any other president in the history of this country by far. The vicious antipathy toward him, the names that he was called. Now, all presidents are treated in a foul fashion by those who disagree with him, but this was extra. And the extra had to do with that thin layer of epidermis. We don't like to talk about it. We live, as Gore Vidal said, in the United States of amnesia. The theme song provided by Barbra Streisand. Young people, do you not know who Barbra Streisand is? She a real famous singer who could actually sing. That's critical, right? That's a distinction. No disrespect to auto-tune. Taylor Swift is a great singer. Well, songwriter. She's been writing since she's been 15. She's a prodigy. She's a genius. Don't sleep on Taylor. But the voice of Barbra Streisand was one for the ages, and she sang the words of Paul Williams, "What's too painful to remember, we simply choose to forget." The willful denial, the refusal to acknowledge it because it's too painful. Race is too painful, gender is too painful, sexual orientation is too painful, region is too painful. And so Obama evoked and evinced some of the worst manifestations of racial animus we have seen. He was a flashpoint along the trajectory of racial dynamism, and now his presidency began to be identified with that. And these right-wing Republicans, many of them white men, expressing venom for him. Not saying let's work together where we can, because this is our nation together. Not in a patriotic moment that says our country is bigger than our party. No! White men who are hardly held to account for their invidious anti-patriotic fervor, mad at Colin Kaepernick for taking a knee when you've been giving us the finger. Okay, it's a different part of the anatomy. The question is, how do we then demonize Colin Kaepernick while we bury Muhammad Ali as a hero? What you doing? He was saying the same thing that Colin was saying, except harder. Except more lethally intense and ferocious. Go back and look at some of those videos on Throwback Thursday. Viet Cong never called me a nigger, he said. He said, white supremacy is deep and profound in America. We don't even want to use the term now. We're polite with it. We should be polite and civic in terms of our polity, but not denying the legitimacy of the hurt and pain we confront. Obama was the hope of many people to have been there and done black. Finish with it. We thought we elected him. It's all over. It's good. Race relations will be solved. Black people will be happy. America will be one again. Obama was resisted by a group of white men, and their whiteness is critical here. Whiteness as neutral, whiteness as human, whiteness as the best of what we represent. Whiteness as the default position has to be called out because it's punishing white people, much less America. Nobody can live up to that mythology of superiority. You know it ain't true. That's why sports are so tough. That's why Colin is so tough. You're already beating us on the field. Don't beat us in ideology and politics too. We got to exercise control over your bodies, over your mouths. As long as you titillate us in our fantasy leagues and on the gridiron and the parquet floor, you are to be celebrated. But the moment you begin to speak up about the people to whom you belong, you are a threat. Obama was fine as long as he was American qua American. Should Obama speak about race, it was a problem. Boy meets girl, girl meets boy, boy meets nation, nation loves him. White guys who are on the other side of the aisle don't like him. They say our best ambition is to make him a one-term president. So he says up, they say down. He says left, they say right. He says wet, they say dry. He says yes, they say no. And then Obama himself responds by attempting to heap coals of fire, as the good book says, on the heads of his enemies by saying, I'm going to take your good ideas and work with them, and the ones that are not, I'll cast aside. First 2 years, what did he do? Bailed out the automobile industry? What did he do? Put the economy back on an even keel, which is hard, the worst it's been since the Great Depression? What did he do? Gave us health care. Now, it's tough right now. Them rates is crazy, as Bill Clinton would say, right? And we know that the candidates have vowed in their own party to take another look, either to scrap it or to reassess it. But the point is, millions more people who didn't have insurance have it now. Remarkable things. Bailing out that automobile industry. And yet there was a lingering suspicion about the legitimacy of Barack Obama as a human being, much less as an American citizen. Wasn't a problem when Donald Trump was beating up on Obama. You're not American, which means you're not really real, which means your humanity is suspect because you're a liar, which means you're really not as smart as you say you are. Guess who's saying this in terms of smartness? You may be a great businessman, but bruh, nuance ain't your shtick. But notice America didn't have much of a problem in the main when Obama was the exclusive subject of their antipathy. But when that man turned that antipathy on other white folk, it was a problem. Because whose bodies are at stake makes a difference. Thelma and Louise can kill a couple guys in a movie and we go crazy. But in most movies with men, they kill more women than that in the first 2 seconds. First 2 minutes of many horror films and in many action-adventure films. The body was the man's. We're used to women dying. Oh, that's par for the course. Men, hey, slow down now, Jiminy Cricket. Rape culture? Are we really concerned about women in America? Rape culture? Rape culture is the predicate of slavery. The unlimited access to the erotic potential of black women. You mean to tell me that a president who raped a 14-year-old girl and called it love versus R. Kelly? I'm not defending R. Kelly. I'm asking a question about what it means to be the body at stake. Frankenstein is the name of the doctor, not the monster. Certain forces in America, right wing, created Donald Trump. The poop in that diaper was from the diet he was fed. To be inarticulately inelegant. But you get my point. Donald Trump is regurgitating the vicious antipathy toward the other that is the basis of a certain kind of mentality in dominant white supremacist culture. but it didn't come to voice. Who would have thought that that white supremacist logic would have turned in on itself? Who would have thought the monster would kill the doctor? Read the story. That's what it is, Frankenstein. And I say this about Mr. Trump as an amplification of desire, not him himself. We can argue about that. We're talking about now the amplification of ideals and culture in America that demonizes the other. Groping on women, having unlimited access to their erotic potential, scandalously assaulting other abled people, the demonization of Mexicans. That wasn't a problem for so many people, but when he began to direct that animus toward other white brothers and sisters and those bodies came to play, then it became a huge problem. Then the moral disapprobation of Mr. Trump became real. But in an Obama era, where Obama was arguing against all of the vicious, narrow consideration of the other, was himself the embodiment of the other, bore what James Baldwin called the burden of representation. That where he entered, the prospects of America entered with him. And so there's a real, if you will, tear in the American fabric. There is a real fight in the American soul. As we move toward a post-Obama era, what we're dealing with is the fact that the niceness of the man, the civic polity of the man, the high intelligence that we are going to miss, God knows, should one candidate prevail over another one. What we miss also is the ability to believe that America can become one, e pluribus unum, out of many one. What will also be missed for some, but should not be, and what must be talked about, is the degree to which Obama was willing to publicly assault black people as well. He goes to Morehouse College and he tells those young men that no one is willing to hear any excuses you're going to make about racism and getting what you did not earn. An unusual commencement address, to be sure. Are you speaking for a detention center or for the most prominent black male college in America? Now, don't get me wrong. I've been an ordained Baptist minister for more than 35 years. Black people get it hard in church, the rhetorical lashes, but it's a balanced attack. Don't tell me about what the white man is saying while I'm telling the white man, excuse me, rhetorically, as a gesture, to be held accountable. So in other words, Martin Luther King Jr. would hold black people accountable even as he held America accountable. Mr. Obama was good on holding black people accountable, not so good about holding America accountable. Why? Because he sought purchase of an American acceptance. He knew that if he were to be seen in public lashing black people rhetorically, it would gain points for white people in the swing vote states and on the fence, both about his candidacy but also about the support of his presidency. Unbeknownst to him perhaps, or he was willing to ignore it, is the fact that those people who didn't believe in you will never believe in you no matter what you do, sir. Goes to the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington and blames black people. Don't take my word for it. Listen to the speech. For a stunning and astonishing paragraph, blames black people for the failure of racial relations and progress in America. He regurgitates a acidly right-wing reactionary logic about black people who are criminals and what they did with their poverty. I was sitting there, also sat at the Congressional Black Caucus when he said to those black men and women who, when he was knee-high to a tadpole, who were getting their skulls cracked, take off your marching shoes and put on, take off your bedroom slippers and put on your marching shoes. Slow down, Mace, you're killing them. Sir, that is presumptuous. Those people were being battered in Birmingham, battered in southern states where it was impossible to be recognized as a human being. Be a bit more gentle. Be as courteous to them as you are to others. Obama understood the demonization of blackness is a card that he could play because it would garner a kind of recognition for his public morality that was brave because it criticized his own. But if you are willing to criticize your own, you must also be willing to defend them. What did Obama say? I am not the president of Black America. Did anybody voting for Obama actually believe they were voting for the president of Black America? Was he the president of the NAACP? I think not. The point is, that was another shot at the collective psyche of African American people. Again, reinforcing the belief that they are not sophisticated politically to understand that you can simultaneously engage in the practice and exercise of the art of politics while at the same time acknowledging the legitimate concerns of people who happen to look like you. This is something that black people, you will understand, are loath to address. Black people are loath to address this because white folk have had 43 presidents, we ain't had but one. White people remind me all the time, you know, he's half us. 43 and a half presidents have been white. We got half a brother. And we working with the brother, the half we got. What up, Barack? That's my bae, that's my boo. Don't talk about it. The problem is that the baying and booing of Barack Obama undermines the political utility of your vote and subverts the potential of the collective enterprise of African American people to be leveraged in defense of the interests we have and also the problems we suffer. And so the inability to acknowledge his faults and failures, his flaws, as great a man as he has been, a greater president, I would argue that he has been, one of the best, perhaps top 10, 15, has been mitigated by this inability of black people to hold their leader accountable, not as a black man, as an American president who should respond to the situation of black America. This is a balancing act many white people don't have to have. Because many white people say, why does he have to be a black president and deal with your interests? Can he just be president? That's easy to say for people who've had 43 and a half presidents who've addressed your issues without having to appeal to whiteness, because whiteness was subsisting as invisible and existing as neutral and therefore American. Whiteness was smuggled into the political contract, and as a result of that, the social compact rested upon an explicit denial of the reality of race and ethnicity. And so, my friends, Barack Obama has not been held to account by many people of color. Now, some have gone off the rails and been very nasty and vicious to him. I'm not speaking about that. I'm talking about principled critique in light of the values we hold. In the few minutes I have left, how then do we talk about a post-Obama era and what are its consequences? Number one, we have to recuperate and redeem the legitimacy of race. Isn't that interesting? With the first black president, that notion has been lost. That race is a legitimate sphere within which to concentrate both resources and energy, but also to as a platform to articulate legitimate social critique. Under a black president, that has been destabilized. Should Hillary Clinton get into office, I argue, through her policies, she would offer more to African American people than has Barack Obama. I'll stand by that. I'll argue with that. I'll break it down for you. Why? Because she doesn't have the charisma of her husband. Thank you. Clinton goes up into a black church. He knows the third verse of Listen Every Voice and Sing. Black people go, hey, is that a verse? Yeah, that's a verse. Stony the road we trod. Come on, Negroes. Bitter the chastening rod. Where are you? Bill, Bill, right? He knew the hymns and the hymn lines. Well, I'm sorry. Okay, that was cheap. That was cheap. That was cheap. That was not worthy. But it was good. It was good. It was good. Obama, skin identification is easy. Pride, what does Hillary have? To deal with the vicious, invidious sexism that prevails, the patriarchal culture that disallows the sight of her to be legitimate. And so she has to offer public policies, family leave. She has to talk about the ways in which disproportionate numbers of black women are hurt by the economy, speaking about the asthma rates of young black kids. In other words, she has to articulate a policy of the domesticity of blackness to recuperate it as a legitimate moment of arguing about race. In a post-Obama era, then, we got to redeem the capacity of race to be a legitimate sphere of both intellectual and social energy, as well as arguing about the resource distribution in America. And that's important. One of the great influences on Barack Obama was William Jewis Wilson, philosophically. William Jewis Wilson used to believe that, like Obama, you do race-neutral stuff, you get the most people involved, and you hook them up. William Jewis Wilson said, that ain't working no more. That ain't really working at all. You got to be specific. Or as the brothers say, you got to be Pacific. I'm not going to waste my jokes if y'all not going to really. I'm just not going to do it. It's extra charge for that. I just want you to know. And so William Jewis Wilson said, no, we've got to be specific in particular in enunciating clearly a policy that is predicated upon taking race into account. Obama moved us away from that, and I think that was a problematic gesture. Number two, in a post-Obama era, what do we have to grapple with is the force and function of domestic terror. Now, I know a lot of people think, terror is ISIS, and they are. Al-Qaeda, they are. But I don't know if you realize, and I don't know if many white Americans realize, that black people think about the police like you think about ISIS. I know you think, oh my God, well, how disrespectful is that? The hell? ISIS? Really, dude? ISIS? Come on. Yeah. Because no matter what we do, they keep killing us. No matter how good we act, how well we behave, how articulate we are. Hands up, you get shot. Hands down, you get shot. Run from the police, you get shot. Don't run from the police, you get shot. Can you imagine, white brothers and sisters, what it might mean for your children to come home to you in body bags? Because little Jimmy sassed the police? Because little Sally said, why are you arresting me? Do you think that's a legitimate reason to get shot by urban executioners? The president has done us no good thing, I believe, by forging a false equivalence between police and community. They are not equal. There is no such thing as reestablishing trust. These people are predators upon you, young lady. What is your relationship to your rapist? Can we have trust? How about justice? You can't have trust in people. Now listen to what I'm saying. I don't want you to think, I'm not saying that every police person in America, this is the logic. Oh my God, most police are doing a great job. If you go to your doctor and you say, look, most of your cells are great, but you got 3 or 4 that are cancerous. It'll kill you. Those 3 or 4 cells will kill you. It is not a few cops here. That is not the problem. It is a culture of demonization of blackness, implicit bias, a refusal to see our humanity. And it's tough because most white folk don't have that experience, so they don't even get it. Like when we hear, woo, woo, we are just deathly afraid. Now you might say, well, we are too, but no, it ain't the same. Because you don't fear that at the end of that encounter, you may be dead. You're wondering if you put your will together just on any given day when you're waiting on your child in a parking lot and you end up dead and your wife is on film saying, do not shoot him. He has just taken his medicine. But when you see a black man with his hands up doing everything the cop said and looked in his car and he's murdered. My friends, my brothers and sisters, because I know most white brothers and sisters are reasonable figures. But do not hide behind a cloak of ignorance or denial. This police terror is vicious and real to many people of color. And it must be addressed not with condescension, not with the sense the police on one side and the community on the other. How do we reestablish trust? From the very beginning, police people were sent in the African American communities, A, to get slaves back, to the enslaved. Those patrols were not our friends. This is why black people, I don't want to be fussy here, this is why we're not too deep into the animal rights movement. We should be, but we're not. Because Lassie wasn't our friend. Rin Tin Tin did not come to the March on Washington. I'm just saying. Last time we saw Rin Tin Tin and German Shepherd, they were biting us. We got a little issue with you. Hey, I see you. I know you're right. You got a good Alpo, but you're killing us because your masters are sicking you on us. from the slave plantation to recuperate what was lost. Third verse of the Star-Spangled Banner celebrates no place on earth the hireling or slave will be able to run. That's why Colin Kaepernick takes a knee. So my friends, my point is that the police from the very beginning have been arrayed against the forces of African-American individual, if you will, and collective flourishing. And then police forces in Jim Crow joined the KKK to murder us. Didn't warn Martin Luther King Jr. in the FBI against legitimate and credible death threats against him. I'm simply saying to you, do your history. The police have always had a fractured, bitter relationship to African American people. Now, I know many of you are saying, wait a minute, slow down. As Rudy Giuliani does. Most of you people are killing each other. Okay. 93% of black people who die are killed by black people. True. 84% of white people who are killed by white people. What you got? What we want to do, a statistical analysis? Right? Do we have a notion of white on white crime? Do we even hear that? Oh my God, I'm so worried about white people because so many of them are being killed by others who are white. It's a blight on the community. I'm afraid. Let's get Miley Cyrus to cut a PSA. Let's twerk it away. Twerk Miley, but okay. Most white people, the white people in America who commit crimes commit more heinous crimes against more vulnerable populations. Do the numbers, it's just right there. But we don't have an ideology and a politic that suggests there is a problem with a suspicious character called the white person. All I'm asking you, my brothers and sisters, think about it. In a post-Obama era, that has to be addressed. Whether it's Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, okay, or Dr. Stein or Mr. Johnson. He's got to find out where Aleppo is first, though. I'm sorry. You can tell the man never listened to Othello, did he? Soft you a word or two before you go. I have done the state some service and they know it. And when you speak of me, speak of one who loved full wisely but not too well. And say that in Aleppo once. Dude, just read Shakespeare. He'll tell you where Aleppo is. Listen to Drake. He ain't talking about Aleppo, he's just good. I got my eyes on you. So the point is, back to the lecture at hand, that we have to talk about mediating conversations with false equivalencies that make a guy or a woman with a badge and a gun and a taser and bullets equivalent to unarmed citizens. They are not. We are in terror. I spoke to Eric Holder, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, when he was the Attorney General and he didn't know what to tell his son about what to do when the police came. That's where we are. Imagine it being your children. You wouldn't accept it as the price of business. Oh, that's what cops do. You wouldn't say that. You'd be mad. You'd figure out a way to stop these people from killing our children. And then, it seems to me in the post-Obama era, we have to take and make more alive the notion of intersectionality. It's a good sexy term. What it mean? Because there's some dangerous intersections too, like those, right? Kimberly Crenshaw, more recently Patricia Hill Collins. It's the way in which we got to think about it in 3D. We've been looking at movies flat screen. Let's think about it in 3D. That's what intersectionality is about as I end. So you can think about gender and race and class and culture and religion and region and how they all play a role. And some of us, we just have our little pet peeves. Hey, I deal with race, so therefore I can't see gender. I deal with sexism and feminism, I don't say anything about race. Or we can't live in that kind of world, right? We're living in a world of simultaneity. Stuff be happening at the same time. I preach at black churches, I go there and I know some of my black brothers and sisters are deeply inscribed into a right-wing conception of sexuality. So they're trying to make God co-sign their bigotry against gay people. What? Where did that come from? I grew up in the church. We knew who was gay. In the choir. You knew. How you gonna throw it? I ain't never been to a black church that turns down gay tithes. Oh, the only funny money they don't want is change. Oh, bring your gay dollar right up in here. We will make it straight. The demonization, not just black people. We know that the dominant culture is homophobic as well, but I'm saying if we have been victims of that kind of vicious racism and oppression, perhaps we should be resistive of and resistant to the same kind of viciousness. Maybe we should do that. We should lead that. We should say that that's just not right. And so many of you have been blessed by gay people and didn't even know it. What, you gonna get retroactively homophobic? Oh my God, had I known you were gay, I would have never taken that full ride that you gave me that saved me $150,000 of scholarship money. Right? Now we know in the dominant white supremacist culture where pockets of patriarchy are real, that sexism and homophobia are real too, transphobia as well. But the problem is that in these minority communities, we got to acknowledge the degree to which we are complicit in the very forces of oppression that we oppose. As I take my seat, that intersection is important. That's why we got to think about issues of women as well. Barack Obama was subject to vicious forms of racism. Hillary Clinton is subject to forms of oppression that are linked to her gender that we don't even speak about. It doesn't even get mentioned. It's taken for granted. The culture is so full of toxic masculinity. We just want you not to be on a tape with a guy named Bush, interestingly enough, speaking about grabbing one. That's how low we've put the standard. Now, you know, if that was a brother running for president, he said something, you gone. Boy, bye. That would have been a Beyonce candidacy. Right? We know this. Had Michelle Obama's daughter, you know, had she run for president, then Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, had they daughter been pregnant twice? Are you going to tell me with the Sarah Palin effect, while you spouting this right-wing ideology that is corrosive, that you're not even holding yourself to account in a patriarchal context? And so, friends, in a post-Obama era, that intersectionality becomes especially critical as we rethink where we are. And where we are as a nation is critical at this moment because there's so many others whose bodies are piling up against the visions of increasingly bitter but narrower circles of white men who are straight, who are resisting the change. Obama has opened that floodgate, has made it possible for us to rethink it, and it is our challenge to take that forward. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
So we're gonna.
So we're going to take the time, we've got about 10 minutes to hear from Dr. Dyson and see if there are folks in the room that want to offer just general comments to them or ask questions. So now is the time if you'd like to come up to this microphone to do so.
Ready to introduce myself? Okay.
So you're inviting people to, okay, yeah, okay.
Hi, my name is Richard Elliott. I'm an American Studies and Political Science double major. I have two questions for you. The first one's, can I get a hug?
Brother? No doubt.
Second question. Assuming Hillary Clinton wins the presidency, what do you think is the future of the Democratic and Republican parties?
That's a great question. Thanks for the hug. That was good, bro. Nice sweater you got on there, too. Look, we're in a tough time, right? A lot of redefinition going on. Democratic Party. It's clear that the Republican Party is undergoing tremendous and rapid transformation. Like, they don't even know who they are right now. Like they go home at night and are you with me? Who are you? I don't know you, right? It's really a toss-up, right? But Democrats, you know, we have our own set of problems as well. How much longer are we going to take black people for granted? Black women's votes have really fueled this country for a long time and fed the Democratic machinery. Black people more generally, Latino people as well, women's voices collectively becoming so powerful. I think should Hillary Clinton succeed, first of all, it'll bring just a stabilizing intellectual force. You know, I did a piece on Hillary and hung out with her and went several places. Ain't nobody smarter than her now, dog. I'm gonna tell you. Like, maybe some people are just as smart, but there's nobody smarter than her. Period. End of story. That's the conversation. And that's reassuring to me, right? And she's a lot funnier than, you know, people know. Like, people, you know, when I hear these stories about Hillary, it's so, she's really not. She's got a sense of humor. It's wicked. It's dry. It's funny. But you can tell I'm a jokester, so I dig that. And highly intelligent, highly thoughtful, very, I think, interested in seeing the country do better. So I think for that reason, she'll stabilize the country first. She's going to try to do that Obama reach across the aisle stuff. That's more, she's to the nature born, to the manner born, so to speak, with that. Her husband did the same thing within triangulation, but Dick Morris, who just wrote a book against her, Why Trump Could Win. I'm very suspicious of that triangulation, because whose bodies get sacrificed in triangulation? People of color. So I share people who are skeptical about the super predator stuff back in the day and the prison industrial complex. We got to push her on that. But let's get somebody we can push. You can't push Donald Trump. You cannot push a guy who is incapable, I think, my particular personal opinion, of listening profoundly. And look, I saw Donald Trump at the 30 Rock. Elevator opens up, he goes, "You." I said, "Yes." That orange visage before me. He says, "You've been very tough on me." I said, "Yeah." He says, "But I love you." It's like, oh my God. He said, "If I had your pipes and your brains, I'd be president now." I said, "Well, but you don't." I didn't say that to him, to his face. I said it to myself. I ain't gonna be nasty. My mama told me better. If you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing. He wants to take a picture, and I treated him like you do some people, in the corner, but nobody can see us. Don't hold my hand in public, girl. I'm not with you. But real people might see me. Then he introduces to me, "This is Michael Eric Dyson." Charismatic as he can be. I mean, if you meet Donald Trump one-on-one, I'm telling you, you might vote for him. It's that crazy. That's how charismatic that guy is. But that's how dangerous he is, to me. The danger is that that charisma is deployed for, I think, problematic purposes. I think Hillary Clinton will right the ship of state to a certain degree. We have a person in office who we can challenge to do the right thing, and I think the possibility of high intelligence being wedded to political experience will never have been better than in her body. Yeah. That's what I think.
I guess one quick
Sure.
Mm-hmm. If you speak to Liz Warren, can you tell her to challenge Hillary in the 2020 primaries if she's not keeping her promises?
Yeah, that's, you know, I sat right in front of her at the convention, Liz. She's great. But, you know, you got to have people behind you to actually support you. And it's one thing when you're Colin Powell and you thinking about running, it's another thing when you actually run. Liz Warren really running, that's a little bit more complicated.
Clark effect?
Maybe. And I think it becomes the fact that what can you actually get done? Because politics at the end of the day is what you can actually get done in the circumstance without having the perfect be the enemy of the good. Great point, sir. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
First of all, I wanted you to come to our campus because I wanted our students to hear a well-educated American, African American, who could be critical of someone whom I know you respect.
Yes, sir. That's right.
I think it's very important in our country that we come to understand that these are not easy questions to address.
That's right.
And that it's so important to take the time to dissect the problem.
Yes, sir.
Look at it from different perspectives. Say things that are provocative. Get people to think about what we want the next period to be. I was saying to one of our professors in the humanities, it's also clear that you are rooted in the humanities, the social sciences.
Yes, sir.
They've taught you well. Give him a hand for being a well-educated.
Thank you, sir.
is, I asked this question as the chair of the Obama Commission on Educational Excellence.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Here's my question. How do we help our country, our universities, to prepare our citizens to analyze, assess where we are, the challenges that we face, and not to simply think right and wrong,
Right.
against and for, but rather to dig deeply
Yes,
and
sir.
use our ability to think as we work to help children and our families in this society of growing inequality. How
Yes, sir.
do we, and what advice do you have for educators as we work to help students focus on the real issues?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, that's tremendous. First of all, the fact that he has you doing that shows his intelligence and wisdom. And I mean that seriously, and I've always thought that. And thank you for underscoring the fact that this is not personal attack upon the president. This is principle. I've shared some of this with him face to face in the White House, and when we were members of the same church. I love him, but my job and his job are two different things. And I've got to exercise my job. He's got to do his job. His makes a lot more money and a lot more influence. But at the same time, I mean, I'll very quickly, we were in the White House one day, and it was a heated conversation about targeted versus universal. And Tom Joyner was there, and he was like, I can't believe you're going to write a book about the president. Now, the president is sitting like right where that water is, and I'm right here. And he says, I can't believe you're going to write a book about the president that's going to be critical of him, that might cost us black votes, and therefore his presidency. Now, first of all, why are you saying that with the man sitting right? Like, why are you trying to crack on me like that, right? But you know I'm not going to be defeated. So I said, really? I said, are you Nostradamus? Because I haven't even written my book yet. You know what I'm going to say? I tell you what, how many books am I going to sell? Because I need to feed my kids. So we're joking, and Obama goes, though. He says, yeah, and he's coming to the White House eating my food. Oh, but you know I'm better than that. I said, paid for by my tax money. I said, and given how much I'm paying, I will be here next week. He laughed. I killed him. Ah! Metaphorically, please. I'm from Detroit, baby, West Side. So I think that, sir, that's a great question. The thing is, I think that the Obama policy, more broadly speaking, in terms of educational philosophy, was a disappointment to some progressives because they thought that he might have done something different in terms of just replicating the race to the top is one thing versus the race to the bottom and trying to prevent that, and then replicating the soft bigotry of low expectations with No Child Left Behind. I mean, you could take, your point was well taken. There's some good things out that you can take out of that, extract from that, and try to apply. I think three things are critical. First of all, to understand the legitimacy of teachers. Like, again, teachers are under assault. You know, we're talking about cops. Teachers are under assault. Like the way we protect cops, let's treat teachers that way. Let's just do that. Teachers can't even get no love like that. They ain't making no money. And then the few who make a little money on the side and take the stuff, and then they get all the bad press. The average person who's a teacher is spending money out of his or her pocket trying to help kids. Yes, they are. And so I think a culture of respect, and I think Obama has done that to a certain degree, is to respect the teachers in the classroom, number one. But it needs to be done more effectively. Number two is to figure out a balance between autonomous local regions of school boards and the demand for a kind of not only regional but national standard by which they will be judged. Now this is where it gets tough because people are like, you gotta grade teachers like they're grading you. Like, I don't know about, I'm sure they do it here. In my class, every one of my classes, I get assessed as well, right? Students can grade me. Now let's not pretend it's not the same, right? My grades have more of an impact than theirs, but they get a chance to weigh in. That's why I always bring pizza to the last class. Oh, did I say that out loud? I was thinking that. I'm not sure I said that out loud. And good drinks. Coca-Cola and Sprite if you're good. So the question is, how do we acknowledge the necessity for control of communities over schools and institutions that educate their children, while also saying that we can't leave it merely to the autonomy of the local when national standards have to prevail, because you have to justify using your time to teach these kids because they're failing at a national level. Which leads to my third point that I would say. Can we in any way make a dent on the obsession with testing? I mean, I don't mean, now, I know you're a scientist, so I will say this, right? I'm not trying to throw testing out. I'm trying to throw the obsession with testing out. Right, that's different. Einstein wasn't going to pass no math test at 12. I think he did pretty good with math. E equals MC squared might be the most famous equation ever, right? All of y'all know that too, right? You don't even know what it means, but you know what it is. I'm sure you do, but I'm just saying. I'm saying even if you don't know, right? That's how deep he was with his math. The reality is that we have obsessed over a culture of testing that tests whether people can take tests, not what knowledge they have. And so we've got to get a fine-tuning of the calculus and metric of testing to adjudge what people empirically know. I'm not against that. I just think we have to refine it. And I think by leading the argument about standards that are national, when applied to our testing, we find alternative measures of that intelligence. Because, see, what a test can't determine is if you're going to keep your butt in that seat and study. Tests can't do that. Some people who are C students become presidents, George Bush. I'm just saying, right? Many of them. But your stick-to-itiveness, your perseverance cannot be judged by that. So we got to balance a way of having those standards, because you know disproportionately they impact African American and Latino kids, and poor white kids for that matter. And so we got to find a way to acknowledge the legitimacy of the testing without the obsession with tests. Those are just three things off the top of my head that I think are extremely important in terms of a culture as well as a practice.
So, Dr. Dyson, I'm going to put some folks on the spot very quickly. And I think this is a perfect segue because you're talking about K-12 education in particular. So we've got a group of boys here from Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys, which is a charter school that I founded almost a year ago.
Wow.
And, I want one of them to come and ask you a question because they've been studying you. Oh, we've got two boys that want to ask questions.
Yes.
They've been studying.
I'm going to ask them some stuff too, yeah. Like who y'all listening to? I need to be listening to. All right, good.
They have been reading your work and listening to some of your interviews recently and have some things they would like to say.
Okay.
Gentlemen?
Sharp, intelligent, handsome young man. Beautiful, good to see
Give a
that.
round of applause.
Tell me your name too.
I'm Tori Holmes.
How old are you?
13.
Well, that bass in your voice? Look at you, man. Look at Yeah, I'm Tori Holmes, 13. What's up? Okay. All right.
The question I would like to ask is, why is Donald Trump being treated differently than Bill Cosby is for the same accusations?
Yeah, wow. Oh, I know y'all was going to be real. I thought it was like a fake question. It was a setup. Who are you listening to in rap right now? How you going to hit me with something that serious, dude? Go sit down, man. You messing up the game. That's a great question. Now, first, let me tell you now here's my first response would be, having met both of these gentlemen, one more than the other, that Donald Trump's revelations are pretty recent. Miss Finland just announced today he groped her on the behind. I don't know if while y'all were here, I was updating for you. So it's the 13th woman who's accused him. Bill Cosby's been accused by 50, 60, 70 women. And I'm not trying to have a hierarchy of pain or grief, because if you're groping on a woman and she doesn't want you to grope on her, that is wrong, and that's part of rape culture. But if you're dropping drugs on a woman and actually knocking her out and drugging her allegedly, then you gotta say that's a lot different and it's a lot more devastating. And I'll tell you why else he's being treated differently. Even though Donald Trump is a moralist and so on, he's kind of a rascal. Right? Bill Cosby went around saying he was like better than people, right? Basically. He was like, and the people with the jello and the pudding pop Right?
He can quit his day job.
Right. And he's beating up on young people. And the reason I know, let me tell you what Bill Cosby did to me. I'm going to tell you, I ain't going to tell you what he did to nobody else. I'm going to tell you what he did to me, what I saw with my own eyes. So I wrote a book on him. I can understand him being mad because it was a hell of a book. I mean, in the sense that it was tight, my arguments were there, you'd be pissed too. I get it. So I saw Bill Cosby one day. I saw his wife and some people I knew. Spike Lee had invited me to one of his film premieres. I'm looking through a window of a restaurant, and I see his wife. Now, I never met her, but I figure she knows who I am. Let's be real. And I'm waving at the people I knew, and then I said, if she's here, where's Bill Cosby? Then I saw him sitting right there, right in front of me, in a class, but he couldn't hear me. They told him it was obviously Michael Eric Dyson. He turns his face to the left, doesn't look straight at me with that proboscis pronounced, sticking out, that's his nose. And he gives me the finger. Now, okay, Bill, you know, I get it, you mad. But this is, you mad at young people, you say they're horrible, they got sagging pants, and all the stuff they do. I think the Bible says, be careful about the grave you dig for somebody else because you might fall in it yourself. And I think Bill Cosby has been a public moralist who has been condescending. He has been relentless in his assault upon poor black people, especially black women. He has been heartless in his assault upon them. And I feel sorry for him, but I feel sorrier for the women who have been subject to him, allegedly. And I think that he has to, in one sense, karma, some would say justice, has caught up with him. And perhaps the same will happen to Donald Trump in the same way. So I think that's why Bill Cosby is being treated differently than Donald Trump. Donald Trump's stuff is new. Bill Cosby stuff is a lot older, and the accusations are more deeply entrenched. It's a great question, though. It's a great question. Yes, sir. You have one? What's your name? And
yeah. My name is Nathan Gordon. I was wondering how old were you when you wrote your first book, and what was it? What was the name of it?
Man, this is great questions. Man, y'all. I'm gonna come speak for your school. Can I do that? All right, cool. Let me see. I'm not as good as y'all, and Dr. Rabowski is a mathematical genius. Let me see. 1993, I was born in 58, 68, 78, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93. I was 34 years old. All right, now let me tell you what happened. What had happened was, let me tell you. So, I was a teen father. I didn't start school till I was 21. All right? So, I didn't even go to college, and then it took me for a few years. I graduated 26, 25, pastored some churches, cleaned some, worked in a factory, and my brother got put in prison in 1989. So, I started writing articles, essays, took over the column of Black America for Z Magazine, blah, blah, blah. So I was doing all this stuff. So I ended up writing my book before I got my dissertation done. So I said, I cannot have my book published without my dissertation being done. So I went and gave my perspectives. That's your outline for what you want to do in your dissertation. Your PhD is like you go before 4 people who question you. Are you good? Are you sharp? What are you talking about? Blah, 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 for 2 hours. I did it. I went out. And when I came back and they said, congratulations, Mr. Dyson, you have now passed on to your perspectives. You can go on for the next 2 years and write your dissertation. I went under the table, pulled out my dissertation, and said, here it is. Okay, that was a risk. But I did it, all right? So that was the first book, basically. And then the other book was written right after that. So I was 34 years old. It was called Reflecting Black African-American Cultural Criticism. That's what it was. Great question, though, man. Great question. My man.
My question is,
What's your name?
My name is Jaden Ridgeway, and my question is, if Hillary Clinton becomes president, what will she do with Obamacare?
Oh boy, oh my God, that's great, You know what? She'll probably do what her husband did with affirmative action, mend it, don't end it. I think she's got to, look, you got to pull these costs into reasonable territory. In other words, it costs a lot of money right now for people who are trying to get some health care. And it looks like it's helping them because they don't work for a particular job and they can still get the health care, but they charge them a bunch of money. And it hurts the people who can't afford it the most. So I think that, and here's the problem. Had the Congress been willing to work with Obama, that stuff could have been worked out.
Yes.
I mean, the man was trying the best he could to figure this out. And Hillary Clinton tried it years ago, way before you were born. She tried her own version of it. And in one sense, ironically enough, it might have been more progressive. But you can only do what you can do. So I think she's going to try to fix it. She's going to try to make it where people are not paying a whole bunch of money, but they're still getting coverage in terms of their insurance. I think that's what she's going to do. Great questions. Give it up for the good. Now, wait, well, let me ask you. So, are y'all allowed to listen? Do you listen to music and stuff like that? Have y'all heard Vic Mensa? Who should I be listening to? Tell me who I should be listening to that you like. I mean, that you can tell me. I know, you know. If you can't tell me till later, let me know. You know what I'm saying? If you don't want to say in front of the founder of your school, we listen to Shirley Temple. You want to tell me later? All right, good. Yeah. Y'all listen to Vic Mensa? Vic Mensa's killing the dude. He's killing the game right now. All right, I'll talk to y'all later. Give me the real stuff, okay? All right. You got one? Okay. All right.
Drake.
Who?
Drake.
Drake? Drake? Oh, yeah. You listen to him? Oh, yeah, he's good. He's good. You know his birthday is the day after mine, but go on. Okay. Yes. All right, thank you, sir.
So we have time for one more question.
My name is Kofi Carter. I'm a bio major here at UC. So you're a pastor, correct?
Well, I'm a minister. I used to be a pastor. You can see why I'm no longer one.
So you are a minister who's one to talk about LGBT issues, and it's like not only talking to gay people, but like, you know, loving gay people and reconciling that with your Christianity as well. So I'm wondering, I mean, I know it's a very big issue in the Black church, but also churches in general. So I wonder, how do you think we should help to bring those communities together?
Yes, sir. That's a great question. Great question. Yeah. Look, I got kicked out. I was 22, 23 years old back in, I told you I'm not good at math, 82, 83, when I got called to a church in Tennessee called Thankful Baptist Church. God has a sense of humor. They were not thankful. They put me out of that church after a year. Let me tell you what I did. No, I wasn't taking no money. Though on reflection, maybe I should have absconded some of the funds. I went into the church. I said, look, 1983, you know, we've been talking about race a lot. Let's talk about gender. I promise you, this is what I did. So I said, I want to ordain 3 women as deacons. You know, now you know I heard the groan, oh my God. In a Baptist church too in 1983 in the South? I was asking for it, wasn't I? I was crazy. You know what they say about in the South? You so green, you put you in the ground, you grow. So I was green. But sometimes green people do stuff. You like to save a green economy, but anyway. So it was fine with the people. At first they were grumbling, like, what? I started teaching the Bible. I said, women are the ones that saved Jesus. If it wasn't for women, we wouldn't even know who Jesus was because they went out and told the truth, right? I told them all kind of stories from the Bible from my interpretation of it and my fledgling feminist consciousness, you know? And so it was all good, but right when I was about to ordain the women, I saw a lot of people in church one day. I was like, oh man, I must be pretty good. My preaching is better. I might be the bomb.com before there was a .com. That's how good I was. I invented the internet and then I did the bomb.com. So, what's up, Al Gore? So, he never said that, right? Al Gore never said that. So the thing is that I noticed my key didn't work in the door that day, and I was thinking, oh, they must be changing the doors because we need a new door. I said, cool. Then I went to my office, and the key didn't work for the office. I was like, oh my God, finally they're refurbishing my office. She said, thank you, Jesus. Praise the Lord, pass the buttermilk. I got up in church, I preached, I did my thing. And all these people, I was like, oh my God, I got my chest puffed out. That's why God will discipline you with your arrogance. So I said, oh my God, I'm good. And then a deacon got up after church. He said, Pastor, there's a problem in this church. I said, well, let's deal with it. He said, the problem is you. And I'm 23 years old, dude. That was hurtful right there. Then they proceeded to take a vote on me and put me out of church that morning. Now, now mind you, I already got kicked out of school. Carson Newman College, a Southern Baptist school. Why did I get kicked out? No, I had a 3.8, I had a 4.0 in my philosophy major. I was killing that. But I protested going to chapel every Tuesday. I said, why do we only have one black speaker a year? And he said, son, based upon your numbers, that's what you deserve. I said, well, damn. So I started protesting, and then they kicked me out of school. So I said, Jesus wants me to be a pastor. Clearly I didn't hear Jesus right. So then I go to church and they kick me out. I'm like, what? What's up, Jesus? I'm like, I got a little attitude now. You know how it is. If I had to write the Bible then, it'd have been rough. Just like you know there wasn't no black woman when Jesus went to the woman at the well, thou hast 5 husbands. You know there wasn't no black woman. Black woman said, you know, when Jesus said, where's your husband? She'd have said, yeah, you tell me, you God. I'm waiting on him. But anyway. You're supposed to be the creator of everything. Can't you create a black man? Okay. So then I said, well, maybe I heard wrong. And I had to go back to the white folk who kicked me out of school because the black people had, to me, abused the gospel. Now look at that and says, well, I can never be an either or demonize any group of people. Because the white folk took me back in when the Negroes kicked me out. And when the white folk had kicked me out, I thought the Negroes were taking me in. Black people, African Americans. So I determined then that for me the gospel is love. And if you're trying to preach anything else and you're trying to dress it up and trying to say God, you know, black people come to me, you know, that's different than race, man, because that's a choice that gay people make. I said, let me ask you this question. When did you choose to be straight? If it's a choice. Because it can't just be gay people making it. Everybody got to make it in order for it to be fair. So would you go to your mom at 9? Look, I'm going to be hollering at these girls. I've looked at all the options. And that other one is a pain in the ass. Oh, I'm sorry. We're supposed to be faking up in here. Let me calm it down. Oh, that was good, though. That was good. I got to remember that. Can't say it in church, but I might. But here's my point. Here we are, obsessed with trying to demonize people by keeping them out of the kingdom of God when Jesus stretched open his arms to whosoever will. So for me, sir, I don't care what your religion is, what God you follow. If your religion is about reproducing oppression and creating more victims, it is not a religion in which I am interested. And it's not one that I can preach. And I think, and I'm willing to stand against a lot of people, and I get it, and I love the church. You know, one person said, Robert McAfee Brown, the church is like Noah's Ark. If it wasn't for the storm on the outside, you couldn't stand the stink on the inside. It's nasty in here, but it's a storm out there too. There's a lot of viciousness out here. I think the gospel should be used to enhance and love people. I think the gospel should be used to welcome all people. And I don't think we should demonize any people because of their sexual orientation or because of their class or because of their gender or because of their color or their race or religion. I just think that God is bigger than that and bigger than all of our nasty, narrow preconceptions about who God is. To me, God is love. And if you're down with that, we're together. I'd rather work with an atheist who claims not to know God than a Christian who swears we serve the same God and who's willing to hurt and harm other human beings. Martin Luther King Jr. said, looking at white folk, I don't know who your God is, because you go into the pulpit and then you go out and lynch somebody and come back and pronounce benediction. I don't know your God. And guess what? God is an atheist too. God don't believe in the God you believe in. So God is literally an atheist against your God. I'm going to preach that. Hold on, I got to write that down. That's pretty damn good right there. Why God is an atheist. I will be preaching that in 2 weeks. So for me, love is what it's about, and we have to embrace each other in love. That's what it is. All right?
What a wonderful spot to stop the evening. I want to extend again a warm appreciation for so many people being here to hear Dr. Dyson tonight and to hear his perspective on something that shows us the level of complexity in what holding the presidency for Barack Obama is. This is exactly what we'll be doing for the next 2 days with the different panels that we are hosting at the Obama Effect 2.0 conference. So we do hope to see many of you if you can join us to do so. And again, thank you. Dr. Dyson will be signing books in the back of the room if you would like to purchase one of the books. Otherwise, have a lovely evening and thank you so much for joining us.
Good deal. Thank you. I hope that was all right.